your church?
That's 12:30, but
This is our church.
It's 1:45. Church is over. You would know if you ever went.
Busted.
I love you. I love you.
I'm in the middle.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting again.
Sweet. How are we doing this?
Oh, hi! So we already have a really, really long line, so I figured we could just jump right into questions. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi. State your name and state your question.
Hi, my name is Jesse. My Hero Academia explores the philosophy of moral relativism with Stain the Hero Killer and Tomoto Shigaraki, attempting to blur the line between hero and villain. My question is, what are your thoughts on what is good and evil, and where would you place Stain and Shigaraki on that spectrum?
They only get better.
So you're asking us about moral relativism. Like good versus evil. I mean, I guess you can't escape it being a personal definition. Everyone, like, ultimately evil is what you think is bad and good is what you want to be, hopefully. But in the realm of good and evil, it's kind of that thing. Like, if you're helping other people, you know, are you helping yourself, are you helping other people? And if you're choosing yourself over the good of someone else, I tend to consider that, like, basically if you're being a dick.
Sorry, kids.
That's it. Sorry, kids. PG-13. That's fine. That's fine. But I think in the Stain arc, it's hard to say that Stain doesn't have a point. But he's also, I feel, in my own way, and especially the way my character relates to him, that he's deeply misguided of how he wants to make that point. So he kind of becomes an argument against his own point in a way, and that's sort of his tragedy. So I think evil is often just misguided. That's somebody asked me the other day, like, do you like playing villains or heroes? And I'm like, I don't think of heroes or villains. Like, when you're playing, the villain is the hero of their own story. They just lack the perspective everyone else has on what they're doing.
Yeah, they're usually more self-centered, and the situation, everything that's wrong with the world that they want to change because of how it affects them personally. Whereas heroes generally have an outlook for everyone. They're doing everything like for the good, all for one. Ribbit.
All I can say is Shigarashi's design freaks me out. I don't know what it is about his character design. That's all I got.
Yay!
Thank you very much.
One more question though. I'm just not ready to think on a Sunday. If this had been a Friday.
This is not a good mic. Is there a tech in the room? You can? Can you guys hear it? Yeah. Okay. This is just us. We're behind the monitor, so to me, I can't.
But you're coming out.
Okay. Cool.
Hi.
Hi,
Huh?
I'm Cassandra McShane. So all three of you I know play upcoming, like your character's trying to be heroes, but I also know that you played villain characters. So which one do you like to play more, the heroes or the villains?
Did you just get here? I know. I will say, villains, typically the way they're written, villains are a lot of fun because they do things that you're like, man, I wish I had that confidence. Because villains tend to be like, they're very myopic, they know what they want, they know how to get it, and they don't give a damn. And I'm like, man, sometimes, I mean, I don't like what they're doing, but I really wish I had that drive and that ambition, because I'm too lazy to be a villain. So, as a person, I'm good, but it's purely accidental. So sometimes the villains are fun to play because you get to tap into a side of yourself that's not you, and you're like, oh, that'd be fun to be that mean to someone, or just to be like, I don't care.
Yeah, because of my voice, I get to play a lot of sweet, innocent, young, right? So for me, it's really fun when I get to play roles like Tanya DeGuratoff in the Song of Time of Evil. Yes! Oh my God, such a good show. She's awful. But like Michael was saying, when you're portraying that character, you can't think of it as like, oh, I'm going to go tie a young damsel to the train tracks. You have to approach it as that your character is doing the right thing in their mind. Which makes it even more interesting when you get the heebie-jeebies, because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm actually rooting for this character, when you know from stepping outside what she's doing is so wrong. It's so wrong to be right.
Villains are definitely more fun to play, for sure. Thanks.
Thank you, sweetie.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Bryn.
Hi, Bryn.
Hi, Bryn.
Hi. So I know in My Hero Academia there's quite a few emotional scenes, like Tatum, there's the character of Iida, what happens to his brother. And how do you prepare for scenes like that? Because I know sometimes like they may hit home for you or for us in the audience in that way. Like how do you prepare to become that emotionally drained sometimes?
So all of us are actors, and we're all trained actors, and part of the job is just like the preparedness comes with the territory. Like when I did that scene in the Stain arc, no spoilers, there's a moment where it really hits Iida what he's done. And I haven't seen it. I don't watch ahead, I don't read the manga because I just want to react to what is happening in real time as though it's happening to me. That's ultimately, I feel, where the performance should come from. And when it does, when he says the words, "I can't watch this," that's just me going, "I can't watch this. This is awful what's happening." And it comes out real. And because it's real for me, it's hopefully real for the audience. It doesn't matter where it comes from so much as it's the context that you see that gives the line meaning. As long as I'm real in the booth. So the preparedness is just letting go and not trying to overthink the performance. Oh, I should be this, I should be sad, let's check that box. Because then it sounds what we call performative, which is like, I'm going to be sad, but what is sad? Sad is just a, it sounds fake. So
I'll be the Tatum translator.
Thank you. You hit me with moral relativism and I'm just ready to go. So yeah, that's the thing. So the preparedness, it's not like we study up on how to be sad, it's more just how to be in touch with your natural reactions to things. I have a teacher that I love to quote on this because he says, like, you can't think your way through a convincing performance. You have to feel. Like, if I were to suddenly scream at you, you would all react. And then you would have a thought. You'd be like, what is he doing? What, but the reaction, the natural bodily reaction comes first. And as an actor, if you just open yourself up to that, whatever comes out as a result of that is perfect, usually.
Yeah, I think everybody has, we're all trained actors. We've all been doing it a long time. So I think that for us, like, it's more about, whatever technique you use, and I'm not going to go into Stanislavski and method and all that stuff. This is, half the room will be like, I'm out. But as actors, like, everybody has their techniques that they use to get into that. Some of them, it helps them to put them in a place of sadness, remember something that's happened to them in their life and go back to that place and how they felt. Sometimes it's thinking about the people who play the characters and how it would feel if that happened to them. Sometimes it's putting themselves in those shoes and imagining how it would feel if they were going through those. It's just, it's so different from actor to actor. So that's a great question, but no matter who you ask, actually that's a great question for cons, because every voice actor is going to give you a different answer.
Yeah.
Poor Caitlin's like,
Yeah, what they said.
how about the next one will start this way?
You start next time.
Better be a good question.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Darius. Just want to thank you all for putting out the episodes as fast as you do. I love it. My question is to you guys, by the end of the series, where do you want to see each of your characters end up?
Aww. Aww.
Ride that shit.
I just want Mina to like have her own episode. That's all. When you like throw a big party, like Mina and all the girls have a party, anything. She's just kind of ancillary and it makes me sad. She finally got to have a little bit of screen time in an episode that Monica and I got to direct together recently. Yeah, Colleen is the director normally, but she was off at AX promoting and doing cool stuff, so we got to take over. Oh yeah!
Episode 51, hey!
Really fun. So that's when they're all looking at everybody's dorm rooms and all the decorations. And I'm like, finally, I can say more than a sentence at a time. Which is what I've been doing for the last 50 episodes. God.
I don't know how you feel. No. I did get my own episode though, I'm sorry.
It's okay. There's hope for me.
There is hope for you. Because it's not like, it's a filler episode, but it was all Suyu, so there is hope.
Yay.
Everybody write to Japan, just Japan. Tell them you want to see a Mina Ashido episode. Dear Japan. Somebody go to Narita Airport and stand in there and go, I would like a Mina Ashido episode.
And 2 more Suya episodes.
Do what?
And 2 more Suya episodes.
Yes, 2 more Suyu. I think for me, I want Sue to be a hero. I want her to be a professional hero. I want her to be a strong hero. That's really all I can wish for her because I know that in her heart, that's what she wants more than anything. So I hope that she gets her dreams.
Same. I want Timmy to be a hero, but I also like deeply want him to like own how proud his brother is of him. Like I really want him to be able to be like, I am good enough, you know, like because he deserves it. He's such a sweet boy.
I love it because we watch, my fiance and I watch My Hero Academia, and Ron is not very familiar with all of the anime and stuff. But as soon as Iida started talking, he's like, oh my god, that's Michael. I was like, yes, that's Michael. He goes, no, that character is Michael.
It's totally me. I'm like the block captain. Is that regulation? I was the student. I was like, but teacher, you forgot to give us homework there. I was me. And because of that, I know what moral relativism is.
Kids. Yeah. Hi. My name is Kaylee. Hi. And my question is a variation on the Detroit "What quirk would you have" question. I want to know, completely separate from any canon character, if you were born into the universe of My Hero Academia, what do you think your DNA, your personality traits, all that stuff would give you as a quirk?
Oh. Not what we want, but what we get stuck with?
Being honest, what would our quirk be?
Oh, I know.
I gotta think about this.
Because I have a feeling that I get really excited, and as I get excited, as I'm sure some of you've noticed, my voice pitch goes higher and higher and higher. So my quirk would be that I would like shatter glass at a certain level. Like I'd have a supersonic laugh that just knocks everybody off their feet. Like nobody's able to hear for like a week.
And they lose their memory.
I think that mine would be some kind of like multiplicity thing. Like I would be myself, but as I took on more and more tasks and would have to start multitasking, another me could be created. So like this Caitlin could be over here at a meeting, and this one is directing, this one's in a booth, this other one is like at home. One Caitlin gets to play with the dogs, while the other Caitlin is doing the dishes, and the other kid like...
This is what I want.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, but I always have so many irons in the fire, which so much that's just me all the time. And I try to take a break. It's really hard. So I think that's what I would be. Lots of
like the Dr. Manhattan Caitlin version.
That's it.
Right?
But not blue, or giant, or naked.
Or naked. And it's you. It's whatever you want. It's your quirk.
Why not?
I think my quirk, if I'm honest, would be putting people to sleep. La 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 la. Yeah. I'd use it for good.
Yes, you're Jigglypuff.
Alright, fan artist.
Thank you.
You know what you need to do with that, right? I don't see a Jigglypuff Tatum in the next
I'm really worried about that. Please.
But he has to say, la la la.
La la, moral relativism, la la.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's a great question.
Hi, my name is Xavier, and I was wondering, since all of the things you guys, all the characters you've done, the years you've been in voice acting, which one brought out your career the most? Which one grew your voice acting from just being great to where it is now? You know what I mean?
You guys have such good questions.
Yeah, thank you, North Carolina.
Can we start with glasses? I think she's the cutest.
What's that?
I said, can we start with you, because I think you're the cutest.
Oh my.
Awkward.
Your muscles are the biggest, Michael.
I'm slightly intimidated.
It's funny because after all these years, the thing that I still sign the most, that I'm told is the most meaningful to people, is still the first thing I was ever known for, which is Winry in Full Metal. So I don't want to like not say that and disappoint apparently the whole room. But I think that probably a more important step for me career-wise, it would be Haruhi in Orange.
That's a Sunday stream.
Because I think that until until Haruhi, I was playing Winry over and over again. It's kind of what I was being cast to do with slight variations, but it was like this lovable girl next door, which is great because we all love that person and recognize ourselves or someone we know in her. And so characters like her and like princess type characters, strong females, which is great. But I wasn't getting to explore my range very much until I kind of took it upon myself to try this Haruhi thing and show that I could sound androgynous, that I could sound like a boy. And then after that, people started casting me for my lower register. And even though I still mainly do the strong women, Winry types, and people with accents, but on occasion, I get to do the Haruhi thing. And so that's what I think. That's my answer.
So I've been doing this a long time. Has anybody seen a show called Princess Nine?
Yes.
Seen it? Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
love that show.
Well, that's good, because you asked the question, and so you'll understand. That's all that matters. I mean, you guys are great too. So Princess Nine, I had done a few anime up until Princess Nine, but Princess Nine is the show that I tell people that's when I learned how to voice act. I had been an actor since I was 12. I had done several different anime, but I was still trying to figure it all out. And when I played Izumi in Princess Nine, that was the moment I learned how to act on mic and how to just let it all out, not holding back, just letting those emotions flow. And so that show still, somebody brought it to me today to sign, and I about cried on it because I was like, I love this show. This is a show that made me feel confident as an actor. And you guys, people would come up to me and be like, oh my God, you made me cry. And I'm like, I did? I had that power? And now I delight in it. I'm like, I made you cry. But yeah, I'd say definitely Princess Nine. I'm glad you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's such a good show, but it's old and it's out of print, so good luck.
You can find it on Amazon or like
eBay,
half-price type bookstores, used bookstores.
Right to Japan. I have two answers. The first one is definitely Kyoya Otori from that was the role that like put me on the map. Like I've been voice acting for a couple of years. I've been an actor since I was about the same age, 10, 12, 11, something like that, but hadn't really voice acted. And I started doing stuff with Funimation, and then Kyoya came along, and that was certainly the biggest role I've been given. And the most emotionally complicated, because he's a complicated character, and he plays it so close to the chest, everything that I had to learn how to like contain him because he was so much going on under the surface, but he kept it all very even keel. And that was a delight to play, a real challenge, and I was very blessed to have Caitlin as a director because she's so good. And I still say this, if you kids go to your room late at night, midnight, look in the mirror and say Oron 3 times, Caitlin will appear behind you with because that's how much she loved that show. And that was the first time I had such a ball working on something that I felt like was not only a great show, because I still rewatch it all the time because it holds up so incredibly well. That was the show that kind of taught me how cool this all is. Like it was a show, I'm like, I had no idea it was this big or this awesome. And later on, I played Okabe in Steins Gate.
I'm in love with you in both of those shows.
Which is...
I just had a revelation.
What's your other work husband?
I know. The one that never comes to fruition.
Yeah, the work shopping buddy.
Yeah.
But Okabe was really intense and he was really emotional, and because I got the opportunity to work on the show as a writer as well, I got to kind of see it from all sides, and I had such an intense experience of like kind of working through my blocks and actually getting emotional that I had a bit of a breakdown in the booth, and I just told him, use and keep it because it sounds right, it's perfect for the character and it fits. I don't want to do that again. But that was a moment that I was like, this feels great. Like this feels like I really, touched something in myself that I didn't realize was possible, and that was definitely the role that taught me like how to act, how to really go there. So thanks. Good question.
Good question. Very good question.
If you see Monica and I like making faces, there's the cutest little baby right next to the question mark.
This dress is toothless.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like bring so much attention, but we're both like.
Your baby has just hijacked this panel. back to you.
Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Jason. Two words, especially. Two words, especially.
What?
Two other words for you that you know.
Oh yeah, no. We go way back. 12 hours.
The question is, how much has My Hero Academia just made you dig into your acting skill set to where you have to go back to how far in your skill set do you have to go to do your characters?
Not at all.
Poor Caitlin has done the same much.
I know, I'm just being honest. It's sort of going back to, I guess, the bread and butter type character. It's like 12-year-old Winry is pretty much what Mina is all the time. And I mean that in a good way. So it's a voice that I know how to do. But I think that's okay. I think that's why My Hero works. There's so many different types of characters, and everybody can recognize somebody that is like them or that they like the most. So it's pretty easy to be Mina, I'll be honest.
For me, I think the hardest thing is the voice. When I first started, my whole idea was I wanted to sound like I'm holding my nose, but of course when you're holding your nose, this sounds awful, right? That's bad. So I was like, there's gotta be another way to do it. And I learned how to hold my nose from the inside. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of plugging up everything up here so that it's kind of coming right up. And I also change where the voice is coming from. It's coming from the front of my mouth instead of back behind. And so that's kind of hard, especially when I first started. I kept wanting it to be really low or really high, and Colin's like, no, it needs to be here. So that's what makes it hard. I always call voice acting for anime math acting. Because not only do you have to think about your character's voice, you have to think about the intention that you're trying to portray, you have to think about fitting flaps, you have to think about what's going on in the scene, what your other people around you are going to sound like because they haven't recorded yet. So it's not like we can just act. We have to think about all these other things. So that was really hard in the beginning, was the voice, but now I could probably just use voice in my sleep. But one thing that is hard, like we learned in episode 51, is once you get a voice, then you have to figure out, okay, so if this is my voice, then what does it sound like when I scream? What does it sound like when I laugh? What does it sound like when I cry? All that stuff's really hard to figure out. So that's the challenge as well. But it makes it fun.
Definitely. And for Iida's turned out to be more of a challenge, and I've had to dig deeper than I thought I would. Originally, I kind of felt like the first episode or two, I was like, oh, I know this. I got this. And the gestures and everything, but as we got going, obviously, he goes through some pretty serious things that I'm like, oh, we're going here. Okay, we're exploring facets of his personality that he doesn't even own yet. And but the biggest challenge in terms of why I have to dig back deep, and I try to every time you come into the booth for something, you want to do justice to the character you're playing, even if it's a one-off character or something. So sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy, but you always, sometimes your bag of tricks is sometimes it's just instinct. You've been doing it for so long, you just I know exactly what to do. And but the great joy of the challenging roles is that you think you know what you're doing, and then halfway through you go, I've actually got to do this now. That's crazy. And with Tenya, the challenge was, he reminds me so much of me as a person that I'm like, that I totally get why he's doing it. His gestures, the way he uses his voice, the way he's just always trying to he's like the den mother. He's constantly trying to get everyone in line. And if he were a dog, he'd be a corgi. Running in circles around everyone to make sure everyone's safe, everyone fine. No, don't do that. He stresses out about other people, and that's kind of how I am. But when you're performing a character that reminds you of you, you don't want the performance to be a comment on how you see yourself, because then it becomes too abstract. And so I'm like, no, I have to kind of forget myself to play myself, and that's challenging because I have to remember all these things to let go of and be like, no, I'm thinking about it too much. I'm trying to be me, and I just gotta, I don't walk around all day going, I'm Michael, what am I thinking? What am I thinking? How am I going to say next? I'm just me, Michael is, the phrase is, knowing who you are is the privilege of a lifetime. I won't know who I am until I'm, on my deathbed. I'm like, oh, that guy. Just met him, so I'm still trying to figure myself out, and when you're playing a character that reminds you of yourself, and they all do in some respect, I think, but sometimes more than others, the challenge is to let go and stop trying to act like you know who they are, because it's a journey, and you figure it out. And the Stain arc was a big piece of that, where I'm like, oh, I don't know him as well as I thought I did, because he doesn't know himself as well as he thought he did, because he can go here, and so that's, I know, right? Deep.
Right?
Deep thoughts with Michael Tatum. There's a Tokoyani. Hey!
Oh my God!
been you all my childhood. Caitlin, Magic Kazan.
Thank you.
Charming. He's a charming man.
Hi. My name's Taylor. I'm a big fan of you all. Thank you for coming to Raleigh. You're lovely voice actors and people. So when I heard you were announced on the guest list, I kind of cried. And my question was, out of the characters you voice acted in other shows, who do you think the character you voice act in My Hero Academia would be friends with or best friends with?
That's a fun question.
I've got a lot of characters to go through.
I really, and I'm not just doing this to do it, but I really think it'd be fun to watch how Tanya reacted to Sebastian. Only because, like, I think Tanya would be really impressed with how very capable Sebastian is of doing everything, but he would be horrified at the same time. So Sebastian would just be like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to help. Let me take care of this villain by ripping him into shreds.
Oh, you can't. I was really good, but you shouldn't do that. Too bad.
Yeah, but I don't think that. I think he and Kyoya would be really good friends too, because they just kind of like trade glasses all the time. Oh, you're a 2082, excellent.
Here's the thing, I play a lot of crazy people. You've met me, you probably figured out why. But Suyu is all about following the rules, right? She's a good girl. She likes to follow the rules. She gets very upset if people don't follow the rules. So I feel like, she couldn't hang out with Stalking Anarchy because that wouldn't, and she'd be like, you cannot curse. That is not good to do. And then she couldn't hang out with like Renge because she'd hear, woo! So I'm going through it, and so I started thinking about the amphibian thing, like maybe if there's another fish or a frog. And so, has anybody seen the movie Possessions? It's a bunch of short, you've seen everything I'm in? Yes! So there's a movie called Possessions, and it's a bunch of vignettes. It was up for an Oscar one year. And so in one of the vignettes, I play a frog, a dancing frog that has a little umbrella. And he sounds like this. Everything is singing a song about how it used to be used and not abuse the earth. And I think that they'd get along just because I think Sue would be really happy to sing and dance for once. And he's really big into recycling, and I feel like she'd be into recycling.
I think probably Mina would like to hang out with Haruhi. I don't know that Haruhi would want to hang out with Mina. She'd be like, you're
just another one of the guys. I don't need more trouble.
But Haruhi's too nice, so of course she can hang. But I think Mina would be really into the whole host club scene. She really likes pretty guys, and she wants to, like in the most recent episode, they're teasing somebody, Kuraraka, I think, about like who she likes and who you have a crush on, like that whole thing. She's really into that. So I think she'd like to hang out in the host club.
I think Mina and Renge would hang out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hunter. My Hero Academia is definitely a show that's known for its unique character design. So what I was wondering is, what was you guys' first reactions upon seeing the characters you would be playing and finding out what their quirks were?
I really love Mina's design. I think it is so unique, and I've never played a character that looked anything like her at all. It's really cool, but apart from obviously the crazy hair, pink skin, horns, and like black eyes, that isn't even what I love the most about not just her, but a lot of the females in the show. They're not waifs, and I really, really appreciate that. Granted, a lot of the girls are very strong, but they've got like meat on their bones, and they're all different shapes and sizes, and I think that's really awesome, and I like being able to have more representation in like body shape. I think there's still a long way to go in anime for sure, but the overall design of My Hero for females I think is really, really great.
Yeah. I've been in the anime industry, voiceover industry, for 20 years, so it's very rare that I'm surprised by stuff. In fact, sometimes I'll start an anime and I'm like, oh guys, I know how this ends. They're like, yeah, right. I'm like, oh, you were right. I'm like, I see it after a while. But Suyu threw me off guard because I'd never seen a character like that, and I was like, she's a frog girl? What's with the tongue? What's this? But I don't get it. But then when I got to hear her speak and I got got to watch her in motion, I was like, that is so cool. I think her design is awesome. I love her in her school clothes, and even in her uniform is one of my favorite things. But for me, it was really hard in the beginning because in the Japanese, they don't make sounds when her tongue is coming out of her mouth. And I really fought with Colleen because I was like, I just want to be able to go, bleh, bleh, bleh. And she was like, you can't do that. I'm like, can I just do it for fun? So I still do it for fun. I think there might have been one episode where she left like a little, but yeah, I love her design.
I kind of freaked out when I first saw Tenya because I was like, has someone been following me around with a sketchbook? Like the movements and everything. And it's funny that when I got its quirk, I was like, we just laughed because like I'm kind of notorious for walking way too fast. Everywhere we go, I'm like, okay guys, let's go. And it's just like a shit cloud. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. And that's just me normally. Like when I'm walking beside my partner who's rather short, like one of us has to change the way we walk. Either he has to be like, or I have to be like, and so I saw the quirk and I saw him and I was like, oh my god, this is hysterical. Like the whole thing that he moves too fast. There was an episode recently where like he's just in the background the entire time running, working on his quirk, and all I did for 20 minutes is, and it was hysterical. I'm like, it's me at a con. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Donald. So the plot has lent itself to there's a traitor somewhere in the midst. And, yeah, I know, right? The manga hasn't revealed it yet, and it's way how far beyond where their anime is at. What do you guys, knowing the characters, working with them, what do you guys believe, who do you guys believe would be the traitor is?
I think it's probably Hagakure. You don't know where she is. She just run around naked, know everything. Tell anybody anything, and no one would know. Seriously, you guys. And they're like, oh, but her voice is so cute, and she's so sweet.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, Felicia. Or I never can remember his name. Who does Joel play? The silly naval laser guy? Did you know, someone tweeted this to Colleen recently, but I've noticed it too, and I never told her. When they're in a big group, and it's like all of Class UA, he's looking at the camera. He's looking at you. Like, he knows. He knows this is a show, you guys.
He's breaking the fourth wall.
He breaks the fourth wall. All the time. All the time. I think it's him and Hagakure. They're like in league with each other.
I've had several people come up to me and ask me, because a lot of people happen to think that it might be Sue. And I'm like, it better not be Sue. I get goosebumps, like literally just thinking about it. I'm like, it better not be Sue, but if it is Sue.
I want to go be on your team.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure All Might's a Titan. I don't know. I'm going with the guy that's looking at the camera all the time. That can't be good. Yeah, it's Joel McDonald. I don't trust him anyway. I love him. I don't trust him.
Thank you much, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica, and we're wondering, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I know how some bands are like, I don't like the dubs because they don't sound like the characters.
Who says that?
Like, anybody want to say that in this room? The exits are here and here. Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
And I know how people like the Japanese better, but like when you were like trying for the characters, like what was your first, like what made you think that you can like voice them and people will like not like hate them for you?
Oh, well, what's interesting about My Hero is that when we got started on it, the show hadn't come out yet. In fact, most of the things we work on are that way. Thankfully, we did get to audition for My Hero Academia, where a lot of shows at Funimation, we don't have that luxury anymore. So a few of the voices were known by the director, Colleen, because she had like the promotional videos to go off of, and that was it. So probably she knew what Sue sounded like in Japanese and Tenya, but it doesn't mean that she played it for Monica.
No.
Usually when we audition for anything, we're not given the Japanese as an example. While once we have the job, we always listen to what they do. But unless we've been told by Japan for some reason that we need to mimic a Japanese performance, we don't. Because vocal archetypes are different in English than they are in Japanese. And we're making a show for an English-speaking audience. And it doesn't mean that we have disrespect for the original. That's not true at all. It informs a lot of our decisions, but we're not trying to copy them by any means. So what made me think I could play Mina? I don't know, I've been doing this a long time. Training. I just went and go, what does she look like? Okay, let's do this. You know, and coming up with different voices. I don't remember what I did for Sue. I remember what I did for Minetta, and he was really fun. I don't think about Japan really when we're auditioning.
You can't. I think that it would be doing everybody who watches the dub a disservice if we just kind of regurgitated what the Japanese did and didn't bring our own emotion and spin to it.
Yeah.
And I think, I tell a lot of people too, like if you buy a disc and you don't watch both, then you only got half your money's worth. Like you've got both languages, why not check it out? You know what I mean? You might like some voices in one and some, because Japanese, there's some weird voices out there, you guys.
Yeah, they're fun to listen to.
They're really interesting and fun to listen to because they're not normal here in the United States. That coming from somebody who has a very strange voice. But I will say that I do enjoy watching the Japanese, but with Suyu in particular, there is a Seiyu named Aoi Yuki. Are you guys familiar with Aoi? She's the voice of Seiyu. For whatever reason, everyone at Funimation has decided that Aoi Yuki sounds like Monica speaking Japanese. This works out really well because Aoi Yuki's in a lot of shows. So it's happened at least, I think we've been 6 or 7 different characters, the same characters recently, like in the last 2 years. So we keep getting cast opposite each other. So when I heard that Suyu was Aoi Yuki, I didn't find out until after the fact, but I was like, that makes sense. But yeah, I'm all for her getting more work. Go,
I think I have that with Daisuke Ono. Like just
you and Ian get that all the time.
I don't. It's also one of those things where when I'm performing, I try not to think about what the audience, like it's your responsibility to have a feeling about what I do. I do it and I try to be true to the director's vision and what I'm feeling off the character. And I don't worry about pleasing fans because it's either gonna hit and they're gonna love it or they're not gonna love it. I have no control over that. And if I try to control it, it's just death to an actor because you can't perform. I'm thinking like, oh, they like this, would they like this, would I like this? It's like trying to be the popular person at school. It's, oh my God, it's exhausting. You're worried constantly, what do people think, what do people think? You have no time to just be you. So I don't really think about that. It doesn't matter what you do, there's going to be people that hate it. So I usually think like, so what made me think I could do it? I got cast. And I'm like, well, someone believed in me, and so I trust the director, and I'm having fun doing it, and there you go. That's all I need. Thank you very much. So I think this is going to be our last question, and then we have to wrap it up. We talk a lot, but we love you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Josh.
Hi.
So I just want to say My Hero has a fantastic dub that's able to keep up with the Japanese, with the simulcast that you guys have been able to put together. So my question as an aspiring voice actor who wants to go into the industry, how do you guys like properly match like the lip flaps like in sessions with ADR? Because I can imagine that is pretty difficult.
Training? No. Yeah, training, really, but it's not like you can go to school to learn ADR. What you can go to school to learn is acting. And once you have good control over your acting skill, over your instrument, which is your voice and your entire body, and also your brain, you know how to take direction. That's what a director is for. So it's the responsibility of the director, so I do that, so I can talk about that. And the writers, both Michael and Monica are writers, so it's actually the writer's responsibility to make the adaptation fit the animation. Make sense? So the words you're saying fit what's already been animated. Then the director sometimes has to make slight adjustments because you get the actor in the booth and they talk a little faster or a little slower. or I have a preference and I just want to change that. But really all the actor needs to think about mainly is being the character. And all of the timing that you're supposed to perform is written into the line. We tell you, pause here a little bit, pause here a lot, make this noise here and that noise there. So if you can read and just be Sue, just be Tenya, you're fine and take direction. However, it's a skill. It takes a bit to learn how to do it. And a lot of actors show up and they have all of the acting training and this ADR is just not the job for them. So there's a very, very brief learning curve. You gotta pick it up quick or you won't continue to be hired because we don't have a lot of time to get this stuff out to you, as you mentioned, simulcast and all that. So.
I would say too, I tell a lot of aspiring actors that want to do specifically ADR that music.
Yep.
All three of us are musically inclined. I was a dancer, I've sung, because here's the thing, when you're matching claps, you have to be able to go, okay, this is supposed to go da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da, and then I can think, okay, that's how my line, I used to tap dance, so I think of everything as a tap dance in my head, and then I'm like, okay, that's how the line goes, and then all I have to do is act, because I'm not worried about the lines and the breaks anymore, but that's 20 years, so it takes a long time to get to that.
Yeah, voice acting is a lot more like music. It's a lot more of like being in an orchestra or something where, you know, I'm the soprano instrument and then there's a tenor instrument and whatever, and you could get two violin players and hand them the same piece of music and they are going to absolutely observe what the music tells them to do as far as how long to hold a note and a rest, but they could still give you two very different performances somehow. That's what we do. So what we read, our script, is like our sheet music, and we're just some instruments.
I'm an instrument.
I'm an instrument. Wow, yeah, I haven't really added that. That really sums it up. But yeah, they say something like it takes, to master any skill, they say it takes about 10,000 hours of practice. So get started, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.